stimulation of entrepreneurship has a very strong local component, because it's very difficult to influence at the national level unless you're talking about a relatively small country. It's been done. It's to influence the culture in a concentrated way. So having efforts to change culture locally, whether it's in a city or a district or a state, is one piece of it. There's also a regulatory aspect of culture and failure that has to do with bankruptcy and labor reform, etc. So there is a piece of that that still is a policy piece.
Yeah, so I began my comments mentioning culture, thinking anything with education. And again, I know Japan deeply for the past 35 years or so. It's been really, really tough to change the culture there. Because again, part of the problem in a lot of countries, I think, is people don't get a second chance. So if you can get tracked into a right educational system, you have to keep following down that ladder. You go to a good high school and a good university, then into a good company, and then to quit or not enter and establish something on your own or try to is just not socially accepted. But say in the United States, we accept mid-career people, we have mid-career programs, we have lots of job mobility. So those are institutional things that, again, I think educational institutions and government policy can possibly influence. But culture seems to be something that changes over centuries rather than
I was going to ask that. I
years.
mean, is this something that you feel in America was just something that happened to be in the DNA from the start with the founding fathers and everything, or is there something that really accentuates that?
The pioneer. I lived in Japan 7 years, and at the end, I'm saying, somebody asked me, how do you characterize America in one sentence? And I thought for a moment. I said, well, it's shoot first, ask questions later.
Is that what entrepreneurship is?
We take risks. We take risks, and then we let the chips fall where they may, and that's part of our culture.
May I jump in here? This is a great time to be alive, I think, from the standpoint of culture, because increasingly we can choose what culture we want to belong to. My friend John Hagel wrote a wonderful book called The Power of Pull. Has anyone heard of it? It's been out now for 2 or 3 years.
Fantastic book, came out last year.
And the general thesis is this: in years gone by, we've been subject to whatever was pushed at us through advertising, billboards, TV, and so forth. Increasingly today, with the internet, with social networking, it's reversed. We can pull towards us whatever we want. So if search online is a form of pull, we're searching for something and we're bringing it to us. We select the people who are part of our social networks on Facebook and LinkedIn, and so we're pulling people towards us that way. When I think of my own network of friends on Facebook, I have more friends outside of, I think it's fair to say, the state of California where I live, than I have even in my own state. So, and they're folks I have common interests with around the world. So increasingly in Pakistan or wherever you want to be, you can pull towards you the role models, the ideas, the people that you want to be part of a network with, and then let those people influence your thinking day to day. And in some ways it'll be compatible with general cultural around you, but in some ways it'll be your own culture. And it seems to me that's a good thing.
Esko, I don't know how many people really know much about Finnish culture, but my sense is it's become more entrepreneurial over time, partly because of the rise of Nokia and what that did.
Yeah, I think it's very, very complicated issue, this cultural issue, because I was born in the 1950s and I went to school in the beginning 1960s. I was the first generation Finn who really had access to education in a broad sense. When I'm looking at my generation, those who were having education did not become entrepreneurs. Those who were dropped out of school, they became entrepreneurs and business. It's an amazing story, but it's rather typical. If you go to my home region, you will find out that many of these young guys who dropped out of school made international success stories as well. But in 1990, the situation changed. Then ICT sector and its expansion led to new type of entrepreneurship, so that those who had university degree actually started to become entrepreneurs. So I think this is very important to be kept in mind, so that there are different types of entrepreneurships. Certain type of entrepreneurship is based on education, certain type of is not.
The nature of the change, as Nokia became bigger, people wanted to work with a big company and be innovative there and see the world and all that stuff.
And also Nokia cluster, when created, created very good infrastructure or ecosystem for new businesses.
And did Nokia consciously create its own cluster, or people left Nokia and started their own businesses?
Nokia itself also supported that. It has been said that in certain phase in 1990s, in a small country like Finland with 5 million people, we had 3,500 companies which were in a way or another Nokia linked or based on Nokia.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to walk down the street. It's hard to walk down the street in Helsinki without running into someone who was not an ex-Nokia employee. Probably laid off, actually.
Actually, we just decided to lay off a substantial number of software engineers in Finland and in other countries as well. And do you know what is the challenge today? I'm responsible for that bridge program, re-employment program. Do you want to know what is the major problem today? We have more demand than what we can supply. Market is working, and in many cases, I'm sure that in many cases,
so more demand
for the re-employment of these people, so that companies are asking people because they see a great opportunity now when these people are leaving Nokia and they are able to be.
I don't think we've answered the question.
Before we go to the next question, John, I mean, the point about dropping out of school was mentioned, and I know you're on Peter Thiel's 20 under 20 challenge, where you've got an American philanthropist funding people to drop out of college and start businesses. Do you? I mean, just why? Do you think that's really, is that something that we should be doing? Should every country be doing that? Is that?
So the name is pronounced Thiel, Peter Thiel. It's regrettable that the 3 of the brightest luminaries in technology this decade, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, all dropped out of school. And it is, they're super exceptional, wonderful guys. But the fact is, education is a huge asset. Huge asset. In particular, a technical education like you gain at a place like MIT. I mean, if passion is the requirement for finding unaddressed needs, a technical education, it seems to me, is the key asset for finding possible solutions and developing advantages.
Yeah, we're is the clock wrong up there?
The clock's wrong. I don't know what that clock is doing right now, but we don't have to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's we'll get to the next question.
I'll just finish quickly. So there is a program, the 20 under 20 program, which has selected 20 exceptional young people under the age of 20 to receive, who have wonderful entrepreneurial aspirations, and they've been selected to pursue these aspirations for 2 years and received $100,000 grants from the Thiel Foundation to do that. Peter likes to talk about the program as an alternative to school, college, higher education. I prefer to think of it as an enhancement to higher education. And one part of it, similar to the co-op program or internship program that we have here at MIT in many departments, in which I so benefited from in electrical engineering and computer science years ago. The fact is, it is a tremendous learning experience to do. And so I think of that program as being a chance to do for 2 years. And if someone is tremendously successful during those 2 years, maybe they'll choose not to go back and finish their formal education. But I think, my guess is in many cases, kids will return to their formal education and complete it afterwards.
And it's interesting, if I'm allowed to mention Harvard Business School here, but I mean, in their MBA this year, everyone's going to be given some money and told to start a business as part of their course.
I love that idea. What a great
Interesting.
idea.
So let's take that question.
My name is Denise Velasco, and I'm actually mid-career MPA candidate over at the Harvard Kennedy School. And I had a question. Obviously, on all ends of the political spectrum, we're seeing discontent with the economic system here in the United States. Very interested in any possible initiatives between labor unions and business and social entrepreneurship.
Okay, let's take 2 or 3 questions. We're short of time. Let's take your questions.
Hi, is this on?
It's on, yeah.
My name is Jackie Sensen. I just completed a master's looking at the diffusion of technological innovations in emerging markets, specifically in East Africa. You mentioned a little bit about the internet and how this can really sort of facilitate entrepreneurship in developing countries. And I guess my question is, I guess possibly to counter that a little bit, in that what can we do also to ensure that the internet is adopted in a way that we think will actually facilitate entrepreneurship? So for example, it could be available in really rural communities, but that doesn't mean that anybody's going to use the internet for anything besides Facebook or YouTube. And sort of how do we facilitate a culture around entrepreneurship that will use the internet to its full potential, because you claim that it has quite a bit of potential. I don't disagree with you, but I think that there's some more there.
Great. Who'd like to take either of those 2
Well,
questions?
I'll just say
Mike?
again, people have to know how to do a little bit of programming or use some of the tools to develop an application and be able to team up with people. And again, there's where I think having some mechanism for bringing different kinds of people together, whether it's in the high school or college, is a way to do that. But I agree, just using the internet by itself without some tools or education around tools is not so useful.
When I'm looking at the development of our sector in the future, I think we are going to see new type of globalization. Globalization where certain elements are completely global and even more and more global. But in the same time, content is getting more and more local. And that is also an asset for